long before pyramids rose along the Nile, before cities formed in Mesopotamia, before writing, kings, or metal tools. There was a hill. In the dry plains of southeastern Turkey, a quiet mound stood for thousands of years, unnoticed, unremarkable. Local farmers passed by it without knowing that beneath their feet lay one of the most revolutionary discoveries in human history. A site so ancient it predates Stonehenge by 6,000 years, older than the first cities, older even than pottery. Its name is Göbekli Tepe. For decades, scholars believed that civilization began with agriculture. The story seemed logical. Humans domesticated plants and animals, settled in villages, built communities, and eventually developed religion, temples, and social hierarchies. First farming, then faith. Göbekli Tepe shattered that narrative. When archaeologists began excavations in the 1990s, led by German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt, they uncovered something astonishing: massive T-shaped limestone pillars arranged in circular enclosures. Some pillars stood over 5 meters tall and weighed up to 20 tons. Carved into them were detailed reliefs of animals: foxes, snakes, vultures, wild boars, scorpions, all rendered with surprising artistic sophistication. And yet, the people who built this monument lived around 9600 BCE. This was before agriculture had fully developed in the region, before permanent villages dominated the landscape. These were hunter-gatherers. For generations, we believed hunter-gatherers lived in small, simple groups, focused only on survival. But Göbekli Tepe suggests something radically different. It implies organization, planning, symbolism, shared belief. The enclosures appear to have been deliberately constructed with extraordinary effort. The pillars were quarried from nearby bedrock using only stone tools. They were transported, shaped, and erected in carefully designed circles. At the center of each enclosure stand 2 taller pillars, facing each other, almost as if in silent dialogue. Many researchers believe these central pillars represent stylized human figures. They have carved arms, hands, and belts. Yet they lack faces, perhaps intentionally. This was not a settlement. There are no signs of domestic houses in the earliest layers. No evidence of everyday living. Instead, the site appears ceremonial, a temple complex. If that interpretation is correct, it means religion, or at least organized ritual, may have preceded agriculture. Imagine what that implies. Rather than farming creating religion, perhaps shared belief systems brought people together in large enough numbers to require food stability. Perhaps the need to gather at sacred sites encouraged the domestication of wild grains growing nearby. In other words, faith may have sparked farming. Archaeobotanical evidence from the surrounding region shows early experimentation with wild cereals. Within a few centuries of Göbekli Tepe's construction, domesticated wheat appears in the archaeological record. The timeline is striking. It suggests that social complexity may have begun not with economic necessity, but with symbolic thought. The animal carvings add further mystery. The creatures depicted are not random. Many are dangerous predators. Some scholars propose they reflect cosmological beliefs, perhaps myths about life, death, and the spirit world. One enclosure features a dramatic scene interpreted by some as a vulture hovering over a headless human body. In later Neolithic cultures of the region, excarnation, the exposure of bodies to birds, was practiced. Could Göbekli Tepe represent the earliest evidence of such beliefs? There is no written record to confirm any theory. Everything must be inferred from stone. And then there is the greatest mystery of all, the burial. Around 8000 BCE, after centuries of use, the builders intentionally buried the entire complex. The enclosures were carefully filled with debris, stone fragments, animal bones, and soil. This was not destruction by enemies. It was deliberate preservation. Why would a society expend enormous effort constructing monumental architecture only to bury it? Some scholars argue that changing belief systems rendered the site obsolete. Others suggest environmental shifts or evolving social structures. But no consensus exists. What makes Göbekli Tepe even more extraordinary is what it reveals about cognition. The ability to conceptualize invisible forces, to cooperate on a massive scale without centralized states, to carve symbolic art into stone 10,000 years ago. This challenges the long-standing theory that complex religion required settled agricultural societies. Instead, it implies that symbolic culture was already deeply embedded in the human mind at the dawn of the Holocene. Recent excavations suggest that only a small fraction of the site has been uncovered. Ground-penetrating radar indicates many more enclosures remain buried. Göbekli Tepe may represent only one part of a larger ritual landscape across the region. Nearby sites such as Karahan Tepe show similar architectural features, reinforcing the idea that this was not an isolated experiment, but part of a broader cultural movement. Together, these sites are reshaping our understanding of early human society. The world of 10,000 BCE was not a primitive wasteland. It was a landscape of ideas. Groups of hunter-gatherers gathering seasonally, sharing myths, conducting rituals beneath towering pillars carved with the animals of their world, building not homes, but meaning. Göbekli Tepe forces us to reconsider a fundamental question. What truly makes us human? Is it farming? Technology? Cities? Or is it the need to believe? The site stands today under protective shelters, visited by travelers from across the world. Yet even after decades of research, its deepest purpose remains uncertain. Perhaps that uncertainty is fitting, because Göbekli Tepe is not just an archaeological site. It is a reminder that history is not a straight line from simple to complex. It is layered, buried, rediscovered. And sometimes, the oldest structures hold the newest questions. In the silent pillars of Göbekli Tepe, carved by hands long turned to dust, we glimpse the moment when humanity first looked beyond survival and began searching for meaning. Long before cities, long before empires, long before written gods, there was a circle of stone, and in that circle, the shadow of belief was born.